Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Nadia Speicher, and today I am going to be presenting Chapter 6, which is called Career Information and Resources. So we'll start off with our first slide. So this is pretty much how the career planning process looks. We start off with step 1 right here, which is, let me start with the center actually. We have our resources, right? Which are websites, databases, printed materials, software, and it ranges from there, right? But how the career planning process works is we start with step 1. So you become aware of needs to make career decisions. So you become aware pretty much of what it is that you want to do or where you want to go. Next, we learn about and or reevaluate self. And then this brings us to number 3, where we identify occupational alternatives, which brings us to step 4, which is where you obtain information about identified alternatives, which brings us to step 5, which is make tentative choices from among available occupations, which brings us to step 6, which is where you make educational choices. So you pretty much find what best suits you and fits you, and which is where we are brought to number 7, implement a vocational choice. Okay, so this goes around in a circle. It is just a cycle, and it brings us to basically where we want to go, what we want to do, what our interests are, things that we like and even don't like. Because even when we figure out things that we don't like, it is also very beneficial, because that just is bringing us a step closer to the things that we know we want to do and things we do want to do. So sometimes there's like a trial and error process, right? And that is 100% okay. Just because we figure out things that we don't like doesn't mean we should be discouraged. Rather, we should actually be pretty happy because we're finding out something that we don't like, and that's okay. You know, we take a little time, we invest, we put in some effort, and we're like, hey, this doesn't really work for me. And then it just brings us closer to what we do want to do. So it's pretty much just, this is how it works for all of us. This is how our career planning process is broken down. Okay, so the counselor's role in providing data. These are some things that we have to reflect on and think about. So is this client ready to receive data and deal with it effectively? What barriers does the client potentially have to using data effectively? What kinds of data and how much will be most helpful? So what works best for them? You know, that's something we have to think about and reflect on. Like, okay, what is it like? What are they going to do with this data? Are they ready to receive the data? Because sometimes data isn't all that satisfying, right? And we're not always pleased with what we come to terms with and things we find. And, you know, is this effective? Is it useful? You know, collecting data is not easy, right? So what methods of receiving data, printed material, websites, personal contact, will be most effective for us on our search? And what kind of decision style does the client use, and how will that affect his or her ability to use data effectively? We definitely want someone that can take constructive criticism. And although, I mean, let's be honest, not all of us are always the best with constructive criticism, and it does hurt sometimes, but, you know, we have to make sure that we're like our clients and those around us, and even ourselves, right, as counselors, like we have to be okay with that kind of, with feedback, good feedback, and things that will benefit us, you know, bringing us in the right direction. Okay, now we have barriers and decision styles. So students and clients may experience barriers that are physical, mental, and or emotional. So this is something I'm sure we all experience and will experience, or maybe already have experienced. But this includes hearing disabilities, poor reading or comprehension skills, negative thoughts, etc. So this is something that, you know, maybe you're going through something in your personal life, you know, and it's really affecting the way it's affecting the way you work. It affects the way you do things. It's how, you know, it's like a dark cloud over your shoulder constantly. Or maybe you actually have like a hearing disability, you know, something that's like, that impairs you from listening to others. Like you're not able to, you know, listen well because you have a disability, and that's okay. You know, those kinds of things happen. There are those barriers, and which, you know, can hinder the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. Okay, and also now we have the decision-making process, and this consists of 8 styles. This is what they have broken it down to. So there's planful, you know, the ones that are that plan everything to a T. There's the agonizing ones, impulsive, the ones that, you know, think right away on the dot, like, okay, this is what we're doing. Like you jump to the gun, you know. We have intuitive, compliant, delaying, fatalistic, paralytic. So they range, all the decision-making ones. And we will see and experience this in the people that we work with. And we will begin to notice, not just within our clients, but within ourselves, maybe this is a good time to reflect on, look at the way we make decisions in, you know, our everyday lives, whether it's in a social setting, it's in a work setting, it's in school, and this would really benefit us to consider. Okay, now we have the client's role. So students and clients have the responsibilities of completing the assignments or suggestions provided by the counselor. This is really important, like with that constructive criticism that we talked about, really taking to those suggestions that we provide them and those tips, and this is only to benefit them, like we discussed, and work with the counselor to process the data, that is to use them in the ways that inform personal decision making, and then most importantly assume responsibility for their own decision making. So really taking that initiative and pushing through and finding what works best for them. Okay, and the counselor's role. So it is important for us as counselors to select sources for data that are of high quality, administer assessments when and if necessary, wherever necessary, provide those suggestions, make sources of data known to clients, and assist them know how to use them. That's what's really important here, is they have to be able to know how to use it, how to implement it, when and where, and assist clients to make meaningful use of data. Now, some types of data needed by clients. So we have occupational descriptions, descriptions of schools, descriptions of programs of study, descriptions of military occupations, descriptions of apprenticeships, internships, and listings of jobs, and descriptions of financial aid. So this is data that is extremely significant and will be used all throughout our life, and especially us being in a school counselor role. The Career Center. This is actually great. This is a physical location. So this is something people can actually go to. It is user-friendly. They have a bunch of computers. They have internet connectivity. They have video display devices. They are equipped with all of it. And they are fully staffed with trained individuals to guide and help us throughout this journey. And they have organized everything by material, type, content, step of the career planning process, and or by life role. So it's really, really beneficial and actually very cool to check out. I plan on checking it out. Okay, helping clients turn data into information. So the most difficult and most essential role of the counselor is to assist students and clients to make sense out of their data, right? That's what we want to do. Our data has to be put to good use. So it's not helpful if the data just kind of falls off and goes nowhere. We want to actually collect our data and make use out of it. And this data could potentially consist of occupations, schools, training opportunities, financial aid, and so on. And the goal is to use the data to make it clear which of the various alternatives should be further explored and which should be removed from the consideration. So we find things that work and find things that don't work. That's the ultimate goal, right? We want to figure out what is good and what is not good, and go from there and just continue to improve. Okay, so to conclude, so there's a huge emphasis that is placed on the fact that providing good data to students and clients is not in and of itself sufficient to ensure that career decision-making will be informed. They need to take responsibility and they have to pursue those actions. We provide them with the material. We hope to, help and guide them in all the ways that we can. And it's up to them to, make those good decisions towards their careers. And the counselor's responsibility and role to help students and clients sort through a massive data and transform elements of it into meaningful information is extremely significant, just like we mentioned before. We collect all that information, all the data, and then we put it to good use, and we hope to see something come from it. So students, clients, and counselors must spend time and effort to acquire data and resources benefiting their career decision-making. That is our goal here. Thank you so much.